are in the midst of July and summer and Jane Austen July. I have made a good little dent in Pride and Prejudice in the annotated version, which is fascinating. I have been watching this, Great Courses, which is phenomenal if you have access to it. Highly recommend. It's taught by Vanity, who also wrote Sister Novelists, which is one of my favorite biographies. And she also wrote a book about Jane Austen, which I haven't read, but this is taught by Vanity, who is a professor of Jane Austen at the University of Arizona, but like I also just said, has also written this amazing work of research on the Porter sisters. And if you are interested in Jane Austen and you haven't read this book, you absolutely should. If you're interested in Mary Shelley and you haven't read this book, you absolutely should. It is highly readable, extremely interesting, social history as well as biography, as well as literary analysis. It's just really, really wonderful. So highly recommend that. Highly recommend this Great Courses. It starts with like a little bit of biography about Jane, then goes into one episode. Each episode's like 25 minutes. So like one episode each about a little tiny overview and delve into each of the individual books, the juvenilia, her unfinished works. And then it goes into history, so context. What carriages are what was dancing like in music? What was the role of music? What might have been the life of Jane's brothers? Just all sorts of interesting historical information. She also talks about, like, if you can't wrap your mind around British monarchy, the Georgian period, she wraps your mind around the context for Jane Austen, her world, how things go. Just all sorts of very specific, interesting, well done lectures. Perfect for Jane Austen July. Also perfect for Jane Austen July, I decided there are so many great Jane Austen tags. I know it's not Tag Tuesday, but I'm going to do this anyway today. I did not have it in me yesterday to do it. I was doing other things. And today I'm going to start with one that Shelley Swearingen over at Shelley Swearingen created a couple of years ago. I'm starting with this one because it meant I didn't have to get a bunch of books off of my shelf. This is just about me. It's a quiz about me and how much like Jane Austen I am. So we're going to start with that one. So I will also link Shelley's original video down below. A couple of years ago, 2 years ago, I believe, she posted this invitation to take this quiz that she created about how much like Jane Austen you are. So I don't have to find any books for this, so I'm going to start with this one. The other tags that I do, I'm going to try to put out on Tuesday, like the traditional Tag Tuesday, but I'm going to start on a Wednesday with a non-traditional quiz, not tag. Let's see here. Okay, the prompts. I have my computer open and the prompts are here. I have not pre-read these and I have not pre-figured out how like Jane I am. There's like a point system and I have not, because I have not pre-read them, obviously I have not pre-prepared answers, but I have them here on my computer. So here we go. Number one, the first prompt is, Jane Austen was an artist and writer. Give yourself 1 point if you are an artist. Give yourself an extra point if you are a writer. Okay, so it doesn't say I have to be a good artist, right? It doesn't say I have to be good. I would consider myself an artist. I'm a really good teacher artist. Like, I can draw a little caricature. I can do little like symbolic type photos, clip art type drawing. I also, from time to time, like to do bigger art pieces. When I was in 8th grade, I did an art piece. I drew the sun set over some pueblos on a mesa with a coyote howling at the moon, and it actually placed, like, my art teacher was like, this is great, can I enter it in this competition? and it actually placed and moved on to regionals. So I have a little bit of talent, but I can't always tap into that talent. It's pretty random. I haven't developed it at all, and it's just like sometimes I can do art and sometimes I can't. I love it. I do it all the time. In fact, in front of me, I have my watercolor stuff. I do art. I would consider myself an artist. I would not consider myself a good artist, but sometimes I am. I like it. I do like to do art. I like to draw. I like to paint things. I like crafts. I think that I'm more crafty than artistic, but like I have three panels of a graphic novel that I wrote and drew framed on my wall because I'm really proud of them. And I did that with a class when I used to teach high school. One of my partner teacher being that he taught sections of the same classes I was teaching. So we both taught American literature. And he also taught an elective with the art teacher. And they were going to do all the assignments that they gave the kids, and it was about how art informs word and how word informs image. And they were going to do all the assignments, and they were like, do you want to join us? And I said, absolutely. And I turned one of the chapters of a novel that I've been writing for 10 years. I will finish it one day. I turned one of those chapters into graphic novels and into a graphic novel and have 3 large, beautiful hand-drawn panels, hand-drawn by me. And I love them, and I framed them, and they're hanging on my wall. So sometimes I do really good art, and sometimes I don't. And I think I'm protesting too much, so let's move on. I'm giving myself a point. And give myself a point if I'm a writer. I'm absolutely a writer. I always have been a writer. Ooh, you can really see that. I got a little bruise while playing with Lola the other day. You can't really see it when I look at it here, but when I look at it on the camera, you can. Anyway, yes, I'm absolutely a writer. I have been a writer my whole life. I've had a few things published here and there. I have been writing. I've got like a half a novel and like 3/4 of a novel finished. One is a fantasy. One is one is a cozy fantasy before cozy fantasy was a thing. And the other is historical, based on a real story, a real thing that happened. And it's good. It's good. But I think I might be too close to it. So I think I might be too close to it. And also I get into this where like I sit down to write it and I do like 10 months of research to write 2 pages. Like it is a thing. But I do write and I do have things published. The most recent thing I had published was a short story in an anthology about the Brontes in 2020 during lockdown. I wrote that during lockdown. It's kind of a horror story. It was pretty good. It's not great. I was surprised that it got chosen, but it's pretty good. Anyway, back to this. So that's 2 points. Oh, that's 2 points. Okay. Number 2, Austen was born to a large family. She had a total of 7 siblings, 1 sister and 6 brothers. Give yourself a point if you have 3 or more siblings. Okay. So I have 1 sister. But I grew up for a lot of years with a lot of random people. That sounds weird. My parents worked for group homes, mostly boy group homes. So I always grew up with a lot of boys who were like my brother. Now, they came and went, most of them, but there are, I would say hundreds in the decades that I lived this life. And I've kind of held on to a core group of them, a couple in particular. And so I'm actually going to say that even though I have one sister, I have many more brothers than that. So yeah, I'm gonna give myself another point. That's 3 points. 3 points. I mean, I lived with them, so I understand that feeling, and I'm still in contact and close to a couple of them. So yeah, I would say it's a 3. It's a 3 points for me now. Question number 3. Austen did not enjoy her formal education. Give yourself a point if you did not care for school. This one doesn't give me a point. I love school. There was a time when, there was one time, no, 2. There are 2 times that I can recall that I did not like school. The first one I can recall is when we moved when I was in kindergarten. I loved my kindergarten. I had my best friend, Roxanne. I loved my teacher, Ms. Jogman. I still remember like the route from our classroom to walking to the library. I remember having a Thanksgiving meal at a picnic table outside. I remember a field trip we took to like the city library. My mom came with us. There was a big green hill and we rolled down it. My friends and I, not my mom. I remember these things. Like, it was such a great experience. And then we moved halfway through that year and I hated going to kindergarten. Hated it. So I remember that, not liking it then. And then the second time was in 5th grade. I had a scary, scary teacher, and he was explosive, and he didn't like, I told you that I grew up with a bunch of boys. He didn't like the boys who grew up there. And so I had some of them in my class, some of them that lived in my house that were in my class, and he treated them very, very badly. And that caused me to feel a lot of what I couldn't label at the time, but know now, it was anxiety. And I didn't want to go to school. And I'd get to school and I'd have a stomach ache and I'd ask my parents to pick me up. So all of that was because of this man and how explosive and cruel and unpredictable he was. And while very little of it was directed at me, it was directed at people I cared about, and it was disturbing, and I didn't like school. So those are the 2 times that in my whole life, and I've been in a classroom either as a student or a teacher since kindergarten. So, like there's like maybe the equivalent, not counting summers, but like maybe the equivalent of a year that I was not in school in my lifetime once I started school. Yeah. So I love it. I absolutely love school. I love it. I love learning. I mean, I just told you I'm watching a series of 25 lectures for fun. I love it. So no point for me. We're still at 3 points and we're on question number 4. Dark humor is woven throughout Austen's writing. Give yourself a point if you have a grim sense of humor. You must share a dark joke in order to get this point. I mean, I do think that I have a dark sense of humor. I do. I also have a really light sense of humor, but I do think that I have a dark sense of humor. The only dark joke I can think of is not my own, so I'm gonna tell it, but it cracks me up. So when my little sister was in kindergarten herself, she came up with this joke, and I don't know where she got it from. But she was in kindergarten. She was this little thing. There's 11 years between us. So I was 11 years older than her. I'm a teenager. She's in kindergarten. And she looks at me and she tells me this joke. Why did the monkey fall out of the tree? I don't know. Why did the monkey fall out of the tree? Because it was dead. And the joke doesn't get me so much as thinking about this little kindergartner with his blonde curly hair and blue eyes, this little innocent face staring up at me saying, because it was dead. Yeah. So I'm giving myself that point. I'm at 4 points and we're on question number 5. Jane broke off 2 engagements and died a spinster. Give yourself a point if you are single. 5 points. We're at 5 points. And question 6. I'm just gawking at the word spinster. A spinster. Austen experienced low periods or spells of depression. Give yourself a point if you have struggled with mental health. I mean, I think that if you aren't giving yourself a point for this one, you're lying. Like, who hasn't struggled with mental health at some point? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I've struggled with mental health. I'm not going to tell you stories about that one, but yeah, absolutely. And honestly, who hasn't? Who hasn't? So wait, what am I at? I'm at 6. I'm at 6 points, and we're on question 7. Jane moved away from her childhood home in her 20s. Give yourself a point if you have lived away from your childhood hometown or region. Can I give myself 20 points? Yeah, I move a lot. I average out. Okay, we didn't move this much each year, but I average out to 2 schools per year, like the equivalent of 2 schools per year from kindergarten through high school. I moved a lot. I moved an awful lot. The longest I have ever lived in any one place without moving at all, like to a different apartment or whatever, might be within the same city, but I would move to a different apartment or a different house. I'm saying the only place the longest I've ever lived in the same home, in the same town, in the same place, in the same country is the 5 years that I spent in India. That's the longest I've ever lived without moving. Then the longest place I've ever lived consecutively would be in Oregon. It might be Washington. I'd have to do the counting, but I think it's Oregon. The longest I've ever lived somewhere, or the most years I've spent in any one place, not consecutively, would be California. I've lived in Asia and Europe and the North America, multiple countries in Asia. I've spent a significant amount of time, in my estimation, I've spent a significant amount of time in West Africa, like longer than a vacation. I've never been to South America. I've never been to Australia or Australasia. I've never been to Australia or New Zealand. I've never been to Antarctica, but I'd like to. I'd like to. And I'd like to go to a couple of different places in Africa as well. I like to travel. Lived a lot of places. Been a lot of places in my life and times. So I'm giving myself a point. That's 7 points, and we're on question 8 of 10. So question 8. Jane was not vain. Give yourself a point if you have very little interest in vanity. What is the actual definition of vanity? Let's see. Vanity definition. The actual definition of vanity is excessive pride in or admiration of one's own appearance or achievements. Conceit, narcissism, self-love. I think I have a healthy amount of vanity. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of the things that I have accomplished. I'm proud of the person that I am constantly becoming. I like myself. I like spending time with myself. Do I think I'm the most wonderful thing? Definitely not. Do I think that I'm perfect? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I am the most human you will probably ever meet. Do I care what I look like? I care if I feel good. I care if I feel good. Do I feel good about how I look? I don't care if you feel good about how I look. So I guess maybe not vain. Maybe. What's running through my head right now is the Carly Simon song, You're So Vain. You probably think this song is about you. Yeah, no, I don't think I'm vain. I'm proud of my lack of vanity. I'm gonna give myself a point. So that's 9 points. Is that 9 points? Yeah, that's 9 points. And we are on question 9. Is that right? Hang on, I gotta go back. Okay, 8 points. Okay, that makes more sense. That's 8 points on question. Hair was of little concern to Austen. Give yourself a point if you cannot be bothered with your hair. Yeah, I think that's probably true. I do like to try things with my hair. Like sometimes I'll get into a mood where I like cut it all off. Sometimes I dye it. I used to dye it a lot more than I do now. If it's crazy curly, I'll straighten my bangs. I'll put it up in like a messy bun or wear it down. Yeah, I think I'm not bothered by my hair. I know if I don't like the way it looks, but also I don't really do much to it or with it. Again, I want to feel good. Like I just want it to feel good. So, natural, I guess, is my, minus the dye and the straightening. Natural. Hello. Is my go-to. So 9 points, last question. Austen expressed her distaste for hot weather. I knew Austen and I were soulmates. Give yourself a point if you dislike the heat. I hate feeling hot. I hate it so much. I do not like to feel hot. I love to feel cold. I want to be cold all the time. I do not like to feel hot at all. At all. Like, if I could set the temperature of any room I'm in, it would be between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. That's like my optimal temperature. I just think that like if you're hot, you reach a point where you can't do anything about it. If you're cold, you can just keep putting more stuff on and you'll be fine. And I like to feel cold. I much prefer to feel cold. I get a point. That is 10 points for 10 questions. You could possibly get 11. I missed 1 point, only one, for education. So let's see. If I scored 0 to 1 points, then it would have been that Austen and I could learn a lot from each other, considering how different we are. Well, that was not me. If I got 2 out of 3 points, then it would have been you and Austen may not share much in common, but you would be delighted to see one another at a local social gathering. So that's not me. 4 to 5 points would have been you have less in common with Jane than some. You could probably spend an afternoon chatting with her. 6 to 7 points would have been you and Austen are friends. 9 to 8 points would have been in another life, Austen and you could have been siblings or very good friends. You want to spend time with each other. And here we are. Here is where we land, I say with no vanity whatsoever. If you got between 10 and 11 points, the spirit of Jane Austen lives in you. She's with you day in and day out. Me and Jane. Besties. Besties. Me and Jane. Besties. There we go. I am one with Jane Austen. And I will see you again next week on Tuesday for a more book-related tag. I might even tag somebody, so look out. Happy Jane Austen July. Let's go read Jane Austen.